Are we up?
Hold on.
Okay. Ah. Did you hear that little whistle?
Uh-huh.
That means I'm up. That means we're on.
All right. Check, check.
Checking.
All right. Hey, everybody, this is the Jimmy Doan Show. And hopefully we are live.
Right on time, too, 4 o'clock.
We do this twice a week these days at 4 o'clock on Sundays and Wednesdays. So join
today
us.
being Wednesday.
That's right. And we try to cover the news and such. You're free to send us a message if you'd like. Now, next week we are probably going to stream to a new location, and that's going to be the Jimmy Doan Show Facebook page. And so I'll make an announcement to that during the week, a special little clip in case you're logged in to receive notices here. So
Now,
anyway,
let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Is it the space Jimmy space Doan show, or was it all one
no,
word?
it's all one string of letters
Okay.
and characters. But yeah, the is in there. We do have one called Jimmy Doan Show, unfortunately, which may confuse some people. So I'll try to shut that one down, but we'll see. But anyway, today's the 5th of December. So
With Counselor Curtis
that's me.
and Jimmy Doan.
That is him.
We're trying a little experiment here also for those of you who are on Periscope.
That's right.
And so you're going to get, the people on that are watching on Periscope, of course, only get to see half of us.
That's right. Only half the show.
Only half.
And they get to add in whatever effects they want.
That's true. That's right. They get to do that. So anyway, the big
What's
news.
going on?
Lots of news. And we're gonna. It's kind of jumbled. There was lots of news.
Okay.
The big news of the day was that snowball fights are now legal in Severance, Colorado.
Right.
Apparently, since the 20s, there had been a law in Severance, Colorado that said no missiles allowed, which included snowballs. So it turned out that this 9-year-old kid made a plea to the city fathers, and they went ahead and said,
The wisdom of babes.
that's right, out of the mouth of babes, right. So anyway, that was big news today. But moving on, we can talk, if you want, probably later about the funeral, the George H.W. Bush.
What's to say? I think
Yeah, what's
everybody pretty much covered it. I mean, the biggest takeaway from my whole about the funeral was basically, I think, what Ben Shapiro hammered at, which was everybody on the far left seems to want to use this as sort of a straw man to just beat on the current administration. Like, oh, he was such a great guy. Look who we're stuck with now.
Yeah.
Kind of the argument I hear just all the time. But I think everybody's covered it, so I don't need to say anything more about it.
Okay, I was interested to find there were some people that I know and love or whatever that came out and said, well, was he all that great? Look at the damage that was done during his one term. And
yeah, I mean, read my lips.
yeah, that wasn't all, but about the war. The we talked about this, I think, last time. The Kuwaiti thing and all the death and destruction after that. So there's a lot of people that.
Yeah, to me, the notable death this week was Paul Sherwin.
I'm sorry.
Paul Sherwin.
Who is?
He was the bicycle commentator, Tour de France guy who along
Really?
with Phil Liggett. Yeah, he used to do the commentary for the Tour de France.
And how old was he?
62.
That's all?
Yeah.
What, bike wreck or what?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, heart attack. I don't know. It's and
Here's a guy. Wait, now look at this straight. Here's a guy who bicycled his entire life. Okay, got to be in the most fabulous physical shape you can possibly imagine. Boom, done. He's gone. Oh Lord.
Well, there's at least one theory of science that says, your heart has only so many beats in it. You want to live a long life instead of doing exercise, take a nap.
Yeah, well, that's bullshit. We can look at my nephew, well, my brother-in-law. Your uncle? Is he your uncle?
Uh-huh.
I mean, who's in his 70s,
Uh-huh.
and he goes heartbeat hundreds and hundreds, thousands every day.
He's off the charts.
Yeah, he's off the charts, right? He's a canoeist, and he goes out and canoes for like 3 hours a day, every day, and then says, okay, well now we can run a race. I'm warmed up. The World Bank invests $200 billion to combat climate change.
Aha!
This represents, this is for 4 years, 21 to 25, represents a doubling of the current 5-year plan. Now, what's interesting to me, of course, is this is all based on this totally bogus, we talked about this before too, bogus, you just can't imagine how bogus the report is from the United Nations Climate Change Committee, or whatever it is, the something CC. And these are the ones that have forecasted.
IPCC.
Is it?
Well, that's the other one. Now, this latest one was a different group from that.
Oh, really? Who was it?
This was a congressional group or a White House. It wasn't the IPCC.
Oh, it wasn't?
No.
Oh, well.
But it's still the same group. I mean, the same kind of group. It wasn't an opposition group or anything like that.
Well, the one we talked about before was the one that said by the turn of the century, 80 years from now, all underwater or something like that. Did the White House group say basically the same thing? Or was it? Okay. So, I mean, the assumptions, of course, made in this, when you realize the number of variables that go into climate or weather or anything. I mean, one of the things that I love to see is with the supercomputers, when a hurricane approaches Florida, it's like this big spaghetti thing that comes up on the projected paths.
Right.
And this huge envelope, and when you see it, 2 days out, the head of the envelope, is like the size of Florida. Or anywhere in here, you're in trouble.
Right. No, it looks like multicolored spaghetti mashed together, thrown down there. And these are the NASA scientists, the same NASA scientists using the same supercomputers.
Right.
But of course, people will tell you weather isn't climate.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah,
but I think
weather, just for a point.
So the World Bank.
Yeah.
This is the World Bank, of course. Whose money is that? $200 billion to fund action on climate change, helping countries adapt to the effects of warming and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. What they're trying to do. They're meeting in Poland, I think, this week.
Okay.
This is after the Paris climate thingy.
Okay.
And they're going to...
Poland. Yeah, I can bring us to Poland.
Okay, oh, good.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put me in Poland?
What?
Oh, thank you so much. the Warsaw, whatever it is, ghetto, thank you so much.
You're in Krakow. It's in Poland.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. So the sum represents a 5-year investment. But anyway, it binds countries to hold global warming to more than 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels with an aspiration, a hopeful, that is to say, of 1.5 degrees centigrade. Well, of course, when you say it binds these countries, no, it doesn't. I mean, they've already opted out. The United States opted out, of course.
Right. Well, and speaking of opting out, I mean, the big international news this weekend was Paris.
Oh, you mean the riots?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I tell you, this is hysterical. I do have a little thing on that.
Yeah.
Let me just see here what I've got.
All right, I'll bring us over to Paris.
Okay, good. Okay, here we are. What I thought was interesting.
Whoops.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Stop. Press. Okay, there we are.
Oops.
Wait a minute. I'm still in the concentration.
Yeah. Hold on. I got you.
We're losing our people here.
No problem. Oops.
What are you putting me in one of the sewers in Paris?
There you go.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, good.
It's not a sewer. You're in the catacombs.
Well,
it's a safe place to be right now with the riots going on.
That's true. That's probably true. The yellow vest protesters reject Macron government U-turn on fuel tax bikes. Now, what happened was they burned. They arrested. I don't know. There's 175 injuries and 400 arrests or something. And they wear yellow vests so they all know who they are, kind of thing. The protesters. And they burned a whole bunch of cars. They defaced the Arc de Triomphe, the whole thing, and the police came in, water, everything to try and hold this down. It turns out, however, that the riots have, if you want to call that, the problems. They're not just the fuel costs. It has to do with everything. So it's the protesters. What they did is Macron suspended the fuel tax hikes for 6 months. So don't riot for 6 months, come back then. And attempts to quell the violent protest. Didn't do anything. They still were out there. And there's a slight reason they announced a string of conciliatory measures just days before the president insisted that he would not change course. The problem is that they're cutting the pensions, which the French absolutely count on. I mean, the pensions are the big deal, and they're raising the home fuel costs, electricity and stuff like that at home. So it's not just the cars, not just the gasoline. It's a whole raft of things that they've done, and they're not rolling a lot of that stuff back. So what they've said, and we'll find out, I guess, in a couple of days, that next Saturday, are they going to do the rioting again? And it's interesting because these riots, for some reason, people go out and just burn cars, for one thing. And, I'd hate to have my car parked on the side of the road there. Having lived in Paris with my car parked on the side of the road, I'd hate to come out in the morning and see it burned to a crisp. But
yeah.
What I like is, but here's the thing I like. Here's the comment du jour. A tax must not endanger the unity of a nation, said Mr. Philippe, somebody. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't understand. A tax is what unites a nation. The tea tax in the Boston tea, that is what actually got everybody together. An actual revolt, and they threw off the Brits.
Yeah, but that's what he's talking about. In his analogy, he's the Brits.
Right. Right, I know.
He doesn't want the overthrow.
Yeah, no, that's right. But that's right. That's the whole point. But he's saying, a tax must not endanger the unity, but it does.
Right.
That's the whole point. He doesn't understand.
Well, that's why that was his back off speech, right? That was his,
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he's saying is, a tax must not. So therefore, I'm going to change. And he's changing the government back to what it was. We agree. What you're saying is the tax has that much power.
Right.
It got everybody out there into the streets.
In other words, it was a unifying force.
Right.
Against against the powers that be. And,
right. Powers that be. It was the people against the government.
Right. And so the people were now united,
right,
as they did in this country to some extent, against the whatever it was. Okay. So anyway, so planned increases in fuel taxes will be suspended for 6 months, and it's intended as an incentive for drivers to move to cleaner vehicles. What's interesting, this is again social engineering, which you'd expect in socialist France or so forth, but this is the incentive, as they call it, for drivers to move to, and what they do is they say, okay, we're not going to tax you for 6 months. And they said also that increases in electricity and gas prices will also be frozen over the winter. Pun. Yeah, right. So anyway, they insisted the measures were too little too late and called for fresh protests next Saturday. We don't want crumbs, we want the whole baguette. Thought that was kind of cute, said Benjamin Cochet. And nothing short of a new division of wealth in France. I'm not sure what that is all about. 200 cars were torched, and symbols of the state, including the Arc de Triomphe, were damaged. And so what they did, of course, is they had a new tax on pensions earlier this year. And obviously what happens is that the elderly, the old people, the people that vote, whatever it is,
they're down there rioting?
Well, they're going to be on their walkers coming through down the Champs-Élysées.
Well, I thought it was interesting that the ambulance people went on strike during this situation. And to me, that brought something to mind when you talk about single-payer health care or an entire industry being controlled by the government, and therefore all of those workers being united together, then you can have a crippling strike that absolutely wipes out the services to the people.
Oh, they do it all the time in Europe.
I know, but what I'm getting at is you don't see that kind of thing over here because we have decentralized services.
Exactly. Well,
and it's another benefit of the free market is we're not susceptible to a huge shutdown. They can shut down.
Look, Montgomery Ward went bankrupt. It didn't take down the whole economy. So, but I remember, I can tell you a little anecdote here. When I was in Italy, we were riding on a bus, and at precisely noon or whatever it was, they all went on strike. I mean, they just stopped the buses and got off. So, we got off and walked back to the hotel, which fortunately, I think this might have been in Milan or something, but, went a couple of miles back to the hotel. But the point is that they just stopped and walked off. I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time when they do it at noon. It doesn't matter what they're in the middle of. They could be in the middle of skydiving and quit, huh?
Why don't you just call Uber?
Yeah, right. Well, this was a number of years ago. No, there was no
Just
way.
on your smartphone.
Well, not only that, you say that, but one of the little minor problems was, with all the buses stopped practically in the middle of the street, it was jammed. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere. Uber would, you'd need a flying car. Or
Uber
something.
cycle.
Yeah, no, wouldn't have even worked. Walking was the only way. So it's now the other thing they've decided to do, which of course is something I didn't know that they didn't do this. But here in this country, as you know, we have withholding taxes.
Okay.
Every time you get paid, there's withholding taxes because your income tax. Apparently, over there, they don't, and they have they have announced that it will now deduct income tax directly from payrolls on a monthly basis starting in January. So that's going to be, can you imagine?
Get with it.
Yeah, well, that's right. But I think it's interesting. I don't know how they pay their taxes over there now. I think that Italy, at least, and some of those places are notorious for tax evasion. But I didn't realize that they did deduct, as we have since the Second World War, from your payroll. Okay, that's that. What's next on the list here? Just make sure. Oh, there's this new stuff on the Me Too business.
Okay.
And this is the Wall Street rule. In Wall Street, what's happening, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, the Wall Street execs, hedge fund people and so forth are coming up with avoid women at all costs because you might be accused of something.
Okay.
No more dinners with female colleagues. Don't sit next to them on flights. Book hotel rooms on different floors. Avoid one-on-one meetings. In fact, as one wealth advisor put it, just hiring a woman in these days is an unknown risk. Across the street, men are adopting, I love this, controversial strategies for the Me Too era, and in the process making life harder for women. So no more equality. In fact, it's going the other way. And of course, they called it the Pence effect because Pence said he never goes anyplace without his wife.
Right.
Making sure. So the executives, of course, are struggling to try and cope with this. They don't, they're walking on eggshells. They have no idea what the new rules are because out of the blue, somebody could say, "You looked at me wrong. You stared down my front, whatever it is."
Right.
And so the former manager, he says, the former managers are all sitting there saying, "What do we do now?" And I don't know how you write down these rules.
You just deal with it. I can tell you, as an attorney who represented juvenile females, we had to take precautions from the moment that you meet them.
Right.
There's always somebody else in the room, or
the door's always open.
Something like that.
Yeah, and of course, what happens is when you have like attorney-client privilege,
right,
and you want to be alone,
right,
because it's all secret stuff,
right.
Well, what do you do now?
Well, that's right. You have to be. It's tricky.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's more than tricky, I would think. I mean, do you film it, or do you?
No. Generally, what you do is you put yourself in a situation where you're being supervised in some way, but there's no audio communication between the parties. Like, for example, I could be in a room that's that has a window
right,
that people could see in, but they can't hear us or something like that. And then the people on the outside are other attorneys in my office, let's say. So nobody can tell what's going on.
I guess what you probably want to do is to take a lesson from the jail cells, where people sit on the other side of a
There's that as well.
Plexiglass where you maybe can slide a little piece of paper underneath. Of course, you don't. Be careful you don't send a picture of your dick or something like that. But I mean, the whole point is that you talk through this little, the telephone thing to your client.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said,
hermetically sealed room.
Attorneys have been dealing with that kind of stuff for a long time. Especially in that kind of environment with, dealing with deviant juveniles.
Yeah, right. And of course, hard to say this, but some of those people that are I don't want to call them street people. Yeah, I do. But I mean, they tend to lie.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to be accused of all kinds of craziness, even when it's impossible. You're behind the glass shield. He touched me. No, he didn't. It's impossible.
Yeah. Well, of course, they haven't. They have come up with at least two of the people that accused Kavanaugh of stuff have recanted. And so, who are you going to believe? Okay, next thing on, speaking of sex workers feel Tumblr ban. Now, Tumblr is, what is Tumblr? It's some kind of an app on your phone.
Oh, yeah, sure. Act like you don't know.
I have no idea. Apparently, is it kind of like YouTube, only more explicit or something?
Your phone seems to be answering. It says it's like Twitter.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. So anyway, apparently you can do some fairly explicit stuff on there. I mean, apparently it wouldn't be a problem for what's his name who used to shoot his underwear out, and all that kind of stuff. The guy from New York, married to Umadan. You remember the guy who he had
Howard Stern or something?
No. He got kicked out of Congress. And he ran for mayor or something, and he was married to Uma, whatever it is. The
Thurman?
No, the consort, not the consort, but the advisor to Hillary. And
okay. You mean Anthony Weiner?
Anthony Weiner, right. I should remember that. How can you forget that? What an idiot. Anthony Weiner, of course. But I guess on Tumblr, it'd be okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So anyway, Tumblr is going to ban all adult content, quote unquote, from its platform starting next month. So, and apparently what's happening is sex workers fear.
So just going to be kids on there? Is that?
I don't know, but I mean, apparently the blogging platform, once heralded for its laissez-faire posting policies, is banning adult content. And unlike the other places that ban nudity, apparently this one didn't.
Right.
And the sex workers, apparently prostitutes, I guess, that want to hook up, I guess they're all upset. So I guess you're going to have to find another one called Tumblr 2 or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Me Too era. Oh, okay. Another loss of your freedom. Let me just make sure here. Yes. Another loss of your freedom. Scientists urge world to share DNA in a centralized database for your protection. It's always amazing to me how many things are passed for your protection. And if you get stopped on the street with your $150 speeding fine, it's for your protection. If if somebody knocks on your door and says you have too many vote signs in your yard because you're limited to one per candidate, it's for your protection. And so forth. It's always is for your protection.
House doesn't meet fire code.
Well,
House doesn't meet fire code.
Yes, for your protection, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And of course, what's interesting is the fire code might be 22 pages long, and you've complied with 21 pages, but not the 22nd page.
For your haste.
So you're.
We'll spare no expense for you. You'll spare no expense.
As Bloomberg reports, a group of medical researchers have a counterintuitive proposal for shielding one's most intimate personal data from prying eyes. This is really a riot. This is we had to destroy the city to save it. Bloomberg's Kristen Brown writes in a new paper published in the Journal of Science on Thursday, quote, researchers suggest that the best way to protect genetic information might be for all Americans to deposit their data in a universal nationwide DNA database. Now, depositing your DNA. Okay, that's a little...
I don't understand how that's supposed to protect you.
Well, remember, if enhancing privacy by creating a giant database of people's DNA sounds counterintuitive, the group's point is that it's already too late to prevent mass exposure. So remember, if you have nothing to fear from this ultimate invasion of privacy, then you've nothing to wrong. That's always the thing is, you don't mind if I search your... If you don't have anything to hide, you mind if I search your car? Well, yeah, I do. Oh, well, then you have something to hide. Mm-hmm. What might that be? We'll get a search warrant. Get the dog over here. Sniff, sniff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean...
Our system doesn't work that way. I mean, you can't...
No.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. We have... You can't... Suspicion can't arise because of your denial to search.
I don't know. I think Yeah, you're not supposed to. I just think that there might be a closer examination of peering through the window if you're stopped on the street, to see if you see something in plain view. We see this...
Plain view, that's a different doctrine. That's your...
I know, but it's not in plain view. I saw a blanket. It looked like it was hiding something. This reminds me of the exigent circumstances. This is where when you always see this in the TV shows. I know this never happens, right? Where they'll go up to this door and they want it. Well, you need to get a search warrant, and I think I hear a baby crying in there. No, yes, there's somebody screaming in there. And they break down the door. So,
marijuana.
Yeah, marijuana. Right? Yeah, that's one. So anyway, that's my take on that. Mm-hmm. And an update. We talked before about this fellow in Holland who wanted to legally have his age changed to 49 from 69.
Yeah.
Well, the court said no.
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah, he said, you can change your name, you can change your sex, you can change everything. And why can't I change my age? And they said, I guess what they did is... Cause I think what happened was, which is unusual, and it doesn't happen enough in this country, is they laughed him out. What are you thinking? That kind of thing. Right. And I think to myself of the number of cases that we read about. I mean, a lot of them are anecdotal, but we read about here where the judge says, "Okay, you can go ahead with this." And I'm going, "What? Why didn't you just break out in hysterics and tell him to get out of the courtroom?"
Right. They do that a lot, I think.
I know. Well, but you
never hear about it because
what you hear about, as you know, you hear about the cop shootings, for instance, of which there are a dozen a year. I don't know what the number, even 100. Out of 320 million, you hear these anecdotal stories that purport.
Well, that's law enforcement. We're talking court anecdotes.
Okay, court anecdotes.
But anyway,
court anecdotes are what you do is to watch.
You hear the crazy ones. Yeah, right.
You watch Night Court, was always a humorous one. New York City passes a minimum wage for Uber and Lyft drivers.
New York City.
Yes.
Let's get you out of the catacombs here. Get you back up.
Where am I?
Oh, you're back in Ocasio-Cortez's district.
Oh my God! Speaking of her, I mean, we're gonna talk about her. I don't have it on my list here, but when we have to talk about her, boy, I'll tell you. You talk about a meme.
What?
Wait just a minute. Let me just get this out of the way.
Okay.
The minimum wage for Uber and Lyft. App-based contract drivers will receive $17.22 per hour going forward. They're not sitting well with the companies affected by them. However, Lyft told Engadget that it's concerned that calculating pay per ride rather than per week will incentivize short rides. Well, this is one of the things I talk about all the time, is the great law of unintended consequences. Mm-hmm. You have whatever this is per hour and so forth. Well, as a person who's earning this kind of money, what do you do to maximize your income if there's a law? So you quote obey the law, but you get around it, and this is what always happens. So we'll see how that works out. But it says it's going to incentivize short rides over long rides. It says the new out-of-town rates, which require companies to pay drivers more when they take passengers outside the city and return without a passenger, will be hard to implement before the new regulations take effect.
Now let's be clear about what this really is. What?
It's a tax.
Well, it's
just a start on making them not independent contractors. They're going to be employees. They're going to have to pay FICA, and that's going to be deducted.
I'm with you, but what I'm trying to point out is why all this has come to pass.
Cab drivers?
That's it.
Yeah. Somebody
went in there and said, "Listen, man, you got to shut these people down. You at least have to put a freaking wet blanket on the fire."
Right. Yeah.
And they said, all right. We'll pass some regulations, and we'll force them to do this and that and whatever, and that'll cut out 27%, or 33% of their business or some shit. You guys will have the inside out of the bit, in and out of the city trade from now on. That's what it sounds like. They made some kind of a deal on leaving the city. I mean, this is like a total backroom deal, cronyism type of situation.
Jeez, you think? Of course, the other thing is, how do you enforce it? I mean, in a cab, you got a little tick your thing,
Man, I mean, what You could do it any number of ways. You could force them to download an app which tracks their Lyft and Uber apps or something.
Don't download it.
Well, look, there's a lot of ways that you can go rogue, so to speak. The question is it worth it to be a rogue Lyft driver,
Well, it might be if the normal, well, this is what always happens.
Right. If the tax becomes so onerous.
Exactly.
I'm with you.
Yeah, this is like with marijuana.
Right.
When they suddenly the legal.
Hey, need a ride?
Huh?
Hey, need a ride?
Yeah, you're right. Hey. Yeah.
Get in.
So yeah, I mean that's what happens.
Hey, shake my hand. Give me a hug like you know me.
Honey.
That's right.
Okay, so it's stunning to me how that virtually every single law, regulation, whatever it is passed by a government has unintended consequences, and it's invariably will fail one way or the other to do what it's supposed to do. I mean, what's going to happen? This is what happened, I guess, with the cab drivers too. When the Uber and Lyft started and so forth, suddenly the price of the medallions dropped to from $2 million to $25,000 or something. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. The unintended consequences.
Well, I mean, but we don't mind that. That's just part of the damage. It has to be done as the market.
As Schumpeter calls it, destructive.
Creative destruction.
Creative destruction. Excuse me, right. Creative destruction, and this happens all the time.
Right.
I mean, seriously, when the car comes along, the buggy whip manufacturers tended to go out of business.
Right. Well, people should have been ready for, or should and still be ready for, the wave of economic innovation that accompanies the web. All this obviously is possible because of smartphone proliferation and Wi-Fi everywhere, and the fact that these phones work so well. You couldn't have Lyft 20 years ago.
No. No, you sure couldn't. But it is interesting, the creative destruction. But the point is, though, that governments, when anything gets a little out of control, they desperately have to come in there and try and control it and get their 10% or whatever they want. Their little tithe, their little vigorish or whatever. Hey, what are you talking about? 3 lawyers. This is an update. 3 lawyers who sued actress Rania Youssef. This is a public.
The Egyptian woman.
The Egyptian woman who bared her leg.
Yeah.
They withdraw and said, forget it. We're not going to do it. Apparently they got some flack.
Right.
So that was good. Now 2 more things that I got. SpaceX has really come along. Mm-hmm. SpaceX this week launched. They've put their Atlas 5, Vulcan 5, whatever it is, 9 or whatever it is, rocket up, and launched 64 satellites at the same time in 2 different orbits, I believe, low and higher or something like that. But these were CubeSats kind of things. They were, small, but you were able to put up 64. But what's interesting about this is when you look at the technology that's in a cell phone, for instance, compared to...
They put up 64 future meteorites?
Yeah.
No.
Well, more space junk. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
No, they'd never make it. They'd burn up before.
No, I know, but that's if they're coming down.
Right.
But the point is that if you happen to be flying through, it's like flying through the love bugs down here. They scatter all over your car.
At 40,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it's 40. I think it's 28. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Still, it's enough. When I think about that, when you talk about the kind of velocities involved, you remember when the one space vehicle that disintegrated as it came down over Texas and everything, and they found out it was because a piece of styrofoam broke off and hit a wing insulation, and that was the ultimate reason. And this is a piece of something that weighed a couple of ounces, but at that speed, guess what? Everybody was doomed.
Well, yeah, I mean, that rock that...
Well, anyways, apparently they have got... Apparently these 64 satellites are from like 5 or 10 different countries, students, high school students, I mean, all kinds of experiments that went up there. I don't know what the price per each one is, but I watched the launch and the retrieval. It was interesting because this was the 3rd launch for this particular booster. And it was recovered. I saw the touchdown. It was unbelievable. I mean, they have a big barge or whatever in the Pacific, and it touched down like right in the middle of the circle. I mean, and they tried to retrieve the fairing that covered the satellites, but apparently, and they had a big. It was really funny. Well, no. Apparently, what happened was they had this huge net out there off of this trawler-like, and in the trawler they had this monster net that was supposed to catch it. Well, they missed it. I think they got it back anyway, but it splashed into the ocean or whatever.
Missed the net?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, this is coming from outer space,
right?
And it's sailing down there at a fairly high velocity, and you're going to catch it.
He's good.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's fascinating to see. As the technology, when you think about the technology that went into those little CubeSats or however many there were, whatever kind of different ones there were, I mean, the imagination, I think about when the Apple II came along, for instance. It was open source, to put it mildly. I mean, it had slots. Nobody had anything to go with it. It had like 9 programs. But look what happened. I mean, it went crazy. And they had they're still, hell, my group is still putting together cards in an Apple II that work, and new stuff, with USB ports on an Apple II. On a 1981 Apple II, you can have...
Well, your group is crazy.
Well,
but
that's
technology is awesome, so...
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's interesting to see these guys. Point is that the next 64 that go up are going to be so much more. They have, a lot of these are looking down, and they're it's going to be so cheap to get the data, is what I'm saying, that you get from outer space here in the next couple of years. It'll be fantastic. I love it. Okay, here's another thing. This comes under political correctness. Saturday Night Live writer and comedian Nimesh Patel was kicked off stage by Columbia University students on Friday night halfway through his performance because students found his jokes offensive. It's a comedy skit.
Okay.
I mean, he's a writer for Saturday Night Live.
Right.
He's well known as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
They invited him. After the students who organized the event interrupted him and demanded that he end his performance, what they did is they went up on stage. The organizers went up on stage and basically grabbed his microphone
right.
and turned him off and said, we found this offensive. The students got him. They took his microphone and denounced his jokes in front of the audience, as first reported by the Columbia Spectator. The event, this is interesting, the event was called Culture Shock, Reclaim, a charity performance hosted by the university's Asian American Alliance. Now, this guy is Asian. He's an Indian, so you can call that Asian if you want. Asian American Alliance. The goal of the event was to provide a platform for a diversity of Asian American artistic expression, as well as seeking to break through stereotypes and challenges. I sit there thinking, you people have lost your mind. I mean, the mission statement. The mission statement. And so what they objected to...
Here's the thing. What?
Specifically, when the comedian joked that being gay cannot be a choice. Adding that if a man is both black and gay, no one looks in the mirror and thinks this black thing is going too easy, let me just add another thing to it. I mean, I'm not sure what the deal is. I don't know what came or went before.
Well, okay, so here's the situation. I mean, I was in a conversation with a comedian about this last night. Some people will say things like, you can't talk about certain subjects these days because everybody's too sensitive about race or gender and things like that. Truth is, you can. You just have to set it up right. If you look around, everybody is still talking about those things, but the way that it's done is it's a little. The jokes are slightly more editorialized in the beginning. They're meta commented on. So in other words, you can. Louis C.K., for example, did on SNL a thing about racism, about his own racism.
Really?
Yeah. He said he was slightly racist. He couldn't help it, having been born in the 70s and grown up in the 70s. And he said, but it's harmless. He said, let me give you an example. He said, if I'm on a train and a white person walks on, I don't think anything. And he says, and if I'm on a train and a black person walks on, I think, it's fine. Everything's fine. And see, it's mild racism, So, and of course the joke is, you don't have to think anything. But the point is that you can still joke about these things. You can joke about anything. Anything. Cancer is seriously funny if you do it right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the host last night stopped one of the comedians from going up because last week he did some really crappy jokes about blowjobs.
Ah.
And it was like, yeah, they were really crappy. And so she said, listen, she says, don't do the really crappy jokes about that kind of stuff. She says, I really don't want you doing jokes about that kind of stuff unless it's really funny.
Right.
Okay? And
right.
that's what the rule is.
Yeah.
So Dinesh here, unfortunately, I guess he wasn't being as funny as he needed to be to overcome the rule, basically.
Yeah. Nimesh. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess that's true, but still, you got to wonder what does it take to yank somebody off the stage. You know?
Well, you should almost never do it at a comedy show,
Right.
And especially
because all you can understand why somebody might want to boo them.
right. Well,
That's
exactly.
that's what you do at a comedy show. Is you get out of town.
Right,
You
exactly.
heckle. You heckle. There's nothing wrong with heckling, is there?
Well, I mean the comedians discourage it heavily, unfortunately, because it.
But they have a retort
Well, here's what
if they're good.
Yeah, and
Yo, mama.
well, and there's also something called crowd work, where the comedian is trying to work with the audience and get them to respond, and that's different. But look, your first instinct was right, which is you boo, you say get out of town, whatever, and if they do enough of it in a row, you get up and go to the bathroom or whatever,
Yeah,
what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, you walk out.
Right, and so that's your recourse, and especially at an event as this one was entitled. I mean,
Asian American, right?
and he's Asian,
and he's Asian, and it's a charity.
That's right, and he's doing it volunteer. I mean, here's a famous guy,
and he has the
he
creds.
probably get paid to go do his act anywhere.
And he's got the creds. He's a writer for SNL,
Right.
which is a millions and millions of people audience. That's who he writes for.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's just amazing. So I just thought it was interesting.
They probably overstepped their authority.
Yeah. Again,
But
but how do you respond to something like that? I'm not getting paid for this. I mean, there's a lot.
that's exactly how you respond. You can keep the $5.
Yeah, that's right. Keep your money. And speaking of kind of entertainment, the premiere of a documentary series about survivors of alleged abuse by the singer R. Kelly. Now, this is something I just found out about. Was canceled and evacuated after a gun threat. Anonymous threats were made to the Newhouse Madison Square venue in New York City. A representative for the U.S. television network told Rolling Stone. Now, apparently what happened was this was a documentary that he put together about a documentary about what happened here. What are you doing?
Keep going.
Okay. A documentary about, and apparently he'd been accused of women abuse or something.
Yeah.
A lot. And he's put together somehow of a documentary on this. And so somebody called up and said, there's a gun in the room. And so he didn't go on, and they evacuated the place. And I mean, that's all it takes these days. I mean, when you think about it, that's been the way for a while. You can call up the local school here and say there's a bomb in the school. They lock it down, evacuate it and everything. But the social disruption that it causes these days to me, is just phenomenal. I mean, to think that, the terrorists can just do anything these days. I'm surprised there's not more of it. Let me put it that way.
Well, I tell people all the time, you can trust people more than you think. For a normal person to take the actions of calling up somebody and making that threat, I mean, that's a big stretch from where most people operate in their daily lives.
Oh, I agree.
They have to assume they could be charged and convicted of a felony and sent to prison.
Right.
And they could be. So it's just labeled a terrorist.
Even if the bomb doesn't go off.
Even if there's no bomb.
Right. No
I
bomb.
mean, that's you're a terrorist. You're banned from flying. I don't know what your Chinese social score is going to be.
Oh God, that's right.
Well, actually, probably peek it out over there. You probably get points, right?
Yeah, you get points for that. Yeah, I'm trying out how. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. On the Trump note, now we're getting ready apparently to have the release of the Mueller stuff.
Right.
Now everybody's all in a dither about this, panting, waiting. Trump's praise for Roger Stone could have. This is talk about off the rails.
No, yeah, you don't even read this almost. Well, go ahead and do
Trump's
it. Trump's
praise for Roger Stone could amount to witness tampering, say the experts.
Right.
Okay, experts. Donald Trump heaped public praise on a potential witness in the Russia investigation on Monday in a manner that legal experts said it could amount to witness tampering. And
that's right.
The idea is that Mueller investigation is closing in on Trump. So anyway, he apparently...
If they can prove...
Yeah,
that there was a quid pro quo, which they'll never, ever do. So, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. And I think the reports, that's all I've got here, I think.
Well, I've got something on that.
Okay, good.
I've realized what's going on with the Mueller investigation.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Well, update us.
I realized, I should have realized after the clue, which was what we got last week, which was the clue was Cohen... pleading guilty to that the other lying to Congress charge.
Now wait a minute. Was he the one that they're not no time?
No, that's Flynn today.
Oh, the Flynn. Okay. We see no time to be. So this reminds me of when Comey got up there and talked about Hillary and outlined all of her things and said, "But we're not."
It's kind of like that. You have to remember, Flynn is a 3-star general. He and of course. Mueller is a military guy. So they're both on the same side of the thin blue line.
Okay.
And they have a lot.
I think that line is camouflage.
The thin camouflage, whatever it is, they have a lot in common. And the charges against Flynn were always super flimsy. It was lying about lying or something. I mean, it was just super. Seriously, it was so weak. But whenever you threaten somebody who is that entrenched in the system, they're not going to fight you. I mean, I think they just bullied Flynn into it. But doesn't matter. Flynn is inconsequential. So they're just. I mean, that's why they didn't give him any jail time and whatever he's going to say. It'll have to do with ancillary issues. But my. Supposition at this point, and what I think is going to happen, keeping in mind that I'm horrible at predictions.
Okay.
Okay, I'm the worst at predictions. But
okay, folks, now listen to me. Think the opposite of what the counsel is going to say now.
That's right, exactly. Mueller will not indict President Trump.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
He is not going to file charges. He is not planning on prosecuting Trump. And he's not planning on anybody else prosecuting Trump for this Russia stuff. Because otherwise he wouldn't have damaged his witness like that.
Yeah, we talked about that already. I mean, the fact is, the witnesses have no credibility now because they've absolutely convicted of lying.
There's no reason for him to do that prior to going after his main
what Trump's
target.
attorneys would do to those witnesses on the stand.
Well, they're proven liars.
Yeah.
So like most of them.
Yeah.
That's the charge on most of them. So at most we'll get some recommendation out of it for Trump Jr. For another more lying stuff. But I don't think they'll do anything more than file a report against Trump.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see. And I think it's supposed to come out in the next week or two.
Well, we've been saying for a while, how many more people... There's only so many people that are possibly in the circle for him to talk to. Yeah. So at some point, you have to draw the line. I mean, at some point, you stick a fork in it,
Yeah, well, you wish. Unfortunately, not all that stuff just goes on and on.
Well,
they're still
that's because he has no oversight. I mean, he can spend as much as he wants, as much time as he wants to, anything he can think of to prosecute, he can go prosecute. His charges, any crimes that he finds. So
maybe he needs to investigate the Kennedy assassination.
He could, if he thought it was related in some way. If he found, not even that, if he found a link to it, he could go investigate it.
Jeez.
So
Yeah, well, that's
Hopefully that entire construct will change over time. That is to say, we will stop prosecuting our former presidents every single time. You see it happen in Israel now. Netanyahu may get charged again.
right. I saw
For
that.
corruption. You know, Ehud, didn't he go to prison for a while or something? I mean, there's...
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
they've got a
when was the
real...
one, Brazil, the guy down there, didn't somebody go to prison? Lulu or whatever?
Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know that the things are getting bad in the governments when all the former leaders are prosecuted.
It happens in
I'm
Chicago
looking at
all
you,
the time.
Illinois. Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'll tell you that's a you might as well just reserve when you get to be elected governor or
Reserve
mayor.
me so. That's right. I'm
reserve that
stashing some salami and some cheese
in the
this
jail cell.
particular jail.
Reserved.
That's right. Hey, how come you made the jail really nice when you were governor?
Yeah, that's right. That particular one reserved.
That's right.
So anyway, the only other thing I've got, and just to mention real quick, is the government shut down on December 20th.
What is that? Oh, is that going to happen?
No, it's no.
No, I mean, is that when?
Yeah, that's what something. They've staved off something until I don't know what it is. But
Trump is not getting into the shutdown. Nobody. They got no traction. It
5
never
days
worked.
before Christmas.
Yeah, right. I know. Good luck. Yeah.
I mean, is that even a story?
Well, the Democrats are hoping it was. That's like a bait thing. They're putting, they'll put it out there. We dare you to shut it down. We double dare you.
That's right, double dare. Okay.
All right. Let's see. I think I may have a thing or two. Let's
Good.
just see.
We got a couple minutes left here.
Yeah.
Troops.
All right. We did legal update. So the stock market down 800 points yesterday. And you notice that they shut it down today for Bush's funeral.
Yes. Banks are closed too, I think.
Right.
Yeah. And
You think that's just Bush's funeral? Just Bush's funeral? I mean,
good question. It is interesting because they had already said they were going to shut it down, but that.
Oh, they did?
Oh yeah, they said on like Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
No.
checking.
Yeah. It wasn't like they woke up this morning and shut it down.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was wondering.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yesterday at 4:05.
No, I'm pretty sure that it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
It's a holiday tomorrow, right? It's a holiday tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Pope has come out and said no gays in his rectory.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So he's going to expunge them, or
I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, what? Is it
going
going to
we're
be a
talking about.
test or something?
Well, there's that, but I mean, you think about all the bishops and the priests and everybody else. I mean, they're going to rat each other out.
I don't know. But Catholic Church, man, they. So which branch of the church is it? The Anglicans or who is it? The priests can have wives and everything.
I think it's Anglican.
Okay.
I know, and of course the Episcopalians are a break off from that, and they can have wives.
Okay.
But that's a good question. I don't know.
And, I mean, is it all the Protestants, or is it?
Oh yeah, no, I don't think there's any. There are no Protestants that can't have.
Okay.
I don't believe. I'm pretty sure that's true.
I mean, if you're
And in
Baptist, the Baptists certainly have.
Oh yeah, no question. In fact, when you realize that if you happen to be a woman, not priest, but what do you call it?
Nun?
No, not a nun. No. Ooh, no, not good on the nuns. But that's kind of an interesting question. Could be investigated. What gay nuns? I don't know, lesbians, whatever. So something to be thought about. Not much. But your parish guy here can, if it's a girl, I guess she can get married.
I don't know, man, but they gotta do something about that. I think they're
Well, the Catholic Church has undergone some rather traumatic things in the past.
and it looks like it's on the verge of another. That's what I'm
exactly
saying.
right. I mean, they had the indulgences. That's what Martin Luther was all about. Was because the indulgences had gotten completely out of hand.
Right.
And I mean, how do you think they built all those cathedrals?
Donations.
Yeah. You give me a donation and you shall go to heaven. It doesn't matter
That's
what.
right. No, seriously. All right. Let's see. Did you see about Brexit?
Yeah, now I didn't quite get the whole thing on that. Apparently, is it coming up for vote again, or what? It's not going to go, or what?
I was hoping you knew. Sorry.
Oh, thanks.
All right, maybe we'll cover that one next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently May was slammed down by some vote.
Yeah, on Tuesday.
Yeah, so, but I don't know what effect it's having on the Brexit. They're talking about the hard or the soft or whatever it is. And
Yeah. There's a few layers, a few levels of getting out, of extrication from the EU.
it's supposed to be all in March.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do some reporting. Maybe some of our British friends will chime in.
Yeah.
Finally, little light note. Did you see that Al Sharpton sold his life story?
For a lot of money.
$500,000
Well, okay.
to his own charity.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I did see that. Yes, he said, yes, that's right. Like
He said he's giving him valuable assets that they can now resell. So
it's kind of interesting because apparently it's fairly well known that he owes $4 million in back taxes. I mean, I don't know. You would think that the IRS would be all over that because they're all over everything, but I guess they get tagged for racism as soon as they do anything like that. But yeah, it's kind of like the Clinton Foundation. You donate to the Clinton Foundation and you get Uranium One. So
I don't know. All right. Well, hey, that's all I got.
yeah, that's pretty much it. We're about coming to the end of the hour anyway.
That's right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. We will be back here. Oh wow, we had a lot of people today. Donald, Gene, Chad, Bart, Circa.
Okay. All right.
Eric, David Johnson. Glad you guys could join us. Hey, where's my music?
Uh-oh.
It's coming.
Good.
There it is. We do this twice a week these days, guys, at 4 o'clock.
Now remember, next Sunday, it's a different website.
Yes,
We're
gonna stream over on the Jimmy Doan Show on Facebook.
All one word. The Jimmy Doan Show.
Right, and we'll put a link to it on all of our pages for everybody so that you can follow us over there. I'll put a little reminder video up later in the week. So, thank you so much. Hope you had a little fun.
Oh, should we tell everybody that tomorrow's your birthday? Happy birthday.
What?
Yes. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Counselor Curtis tomorrow.
That's right, I'm a million years old.
As you close in on half century.
That's right. Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for this awesome tune that we're listening to here. Also, just for the heck of it, this, ladies and gentlemen, is Migaloo Luxury Submarines.
Oh, that's what.
This is just a little throwback to our engineer here. I'm sure he would like me to post this. I just decided to post something about luxury submarines. So we're an affiliate seller here.
Yeah, that's right. We get a cut. Yeah, it's too bad because our.
That's right. We take Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, get your smartphone out and snap that. Snap that thing.
It's all frozen here. So. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. See you next time.
See you Sunday at 4 o'clock.